Have you ever wondered what really draws a man in? I mean, truly captivates him, beyond physical attraction, beyond fleeting chemistry? Here's the thing, most men are not just looking for someone beautiful or accomplished. They're searching for something deeper, something that connects with their core. But here's where many women get it wrong, thinking it's about being perfect, mysterious, or playing hard to get. Sound familiar? Maybe you've been told that keeping him guessing is the secret. Maybe you've been advised to never text first or wait 3 days before replying. These ideas might seem clever, but let's face it, they often leave us feeling disconnected and frustrated, right? The truth is simpler, yet far more powerful. Most men are attracted to women who can communicate with honesty, clarity, and authenticity. And no, this doesn't mean oversharing or confessing every feeling. It's about saying the right things in the right way. Think of this as your ultimate roadmap, how to speak words that not only catch his attention but also leave a lasting impression. Today we're diving into 8 transformative things you can say to win his heart. Each of these is rooted in psychology, emotional connection, and yes, stoicism. These principles are not tricks or gimmicks. They're actionable and deeply meaningful ways to connect with the type of man who truly deserves you. Are you ready to uncover the first secret? Let's dive in. 1. Be clear about your intentions. Let me ask you something. When you meet a man, do you find yourself holding back, unsure of how much to reveal about what you're looking for? Maybe you don't want to come on too strong, or maybe you've been taught that it's better to keep things light so you don't scare him away. But here's the reality. Nothing is more attractive to a confident man than a woman who knows what she wants and isn't afraid to say it. Imagine this, you're on a first or second date. Things are going well, but then the inevitable question comes up. So, what are you looking for? How do you respond? Do you give a vague answer like, "Oh, I'm just seeing where things go"? Or do you own your truth and say, "I'm looking for a meaningful relationship with someone who shares my values and is ready to grow together"? The difference here is monumental. When you're clear about your intentions, you send a powerful message. You're saying, "I value myself enough to set the standard for what I want." And guess what? The right man will admire you for it. He'll see you as someone with confidence, self-respect, and direction, qualities that are magnetic to anyone worth your time. Now, let's address a common fear. You might think, but what if he's scared off by my honesty? And here's the answer. Let him be scared off. A man who isn't aligned with your intentions isn't the man you want anyway. Remember, the goal isn't to attract just any man. It's to connect with someone who is ready for what you bring to the table. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our actions, our words, and our energy. You can't control how someone reacts to your clarity, but you can choose to be authentic. And that authenticity is what sets you apart. It's what filters out the men who aren't serious and draws in the ones who see your value. Here's a real-world example to consider. Picture a man who has been dating around, unsure of what he's looking for. Then he meets a woman who confidently says, "I'm not here to waste time. I want a relationship that's grounded in trust and mutual growth." Suddenly she stands out. Why? Because her honesty gives him something rare in today's dating world, a sense of security and direction. She's not playing games, she knows who she is, and that's irresistible. But being clear about your intentions isn't just about relationships, it's also about setting boundaries. If something doesn't align with your values, speak up. For instance, if he suggests something casual when you're looking for commitment, you can say, "I respect that, but I'm looking for something more meaningful." This kind of boundary setting not only protects your emotional energy, but also reinforces your self-worth. Have you noticed how many dating struggles stem from a lack of clarity? When intentions are muddled, misunderstandings arise. Mixed signals create anxiety, and that's when you start questioning yourself. Did I say too much? Did I come on too strong? But when you're upfront, you remove all that noise. You free yourself from the guessing game and step into a place of calm confidence. If there's one thing you take away from this section, let it be this. Men who are emotionally mature crave women who are direct about their desires. It's not about making demands or putting pressure on him. It's about showing that you respect yourself enough to communicate your truth. And if he's the right man, he'll rise to meet you there. So, the next time you're tempted to stay silent or play it cool, ask yourself, what would happen if I just told him the truth? You might be surprised by the power of your own words. After all, clarity isn't just attractive, it's transformative. Ready for the next secret? Stay tuned because this is just the beginning. If you think being clear about your intentions is powerful, wait until you discover what happens when you start showing appreciation. That's coming up next, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. 2. Show appreciation and acknowledge his efforts. Let's take a moment to think about something most people overlook in relationships: acknowledgement. When was the last time you truly acknowledged someone's effort, whether it was big or small? And more importantly, when was the last time you felt genuinely acknowledged? It feels incredible, doesn't it? Now, imagine the power of using this simple yet profound principle to make a man feel not just appreciated but deeply connected to you. Here's the truth. Men crave acknowledgement in ways they often don't verbalize. It's not about stroking their ego or showering them with empty compliments. It's about seeing and valuing the effort they put into the relationship. Whether it's as simple as picking a great restaurant for a date, fixing something around the house, or supporting you during a tough time, expressing your appreciation for those actions goes a long way. It's a way of saying, I see you and I value what you do. Why is this so powerful? Psychology teaches us that acknowledgement creates a sense of validation. When a man feels validated, he feels seen for who he truly is, and not just for what he does. This, in turn, deepens his emotional investment in the relationship. He begins to associate you with feelings of warmth, support, and belonging. Think about it. Who wouldn't want to be around someone who makes them feel this way? But here's the key. Your appreciation needs to be authentic and specific. Vague praise like, "You're great," or "Thanks for everything" might sound nice, but it doesn't land the same way as something like, "I really appreciate how thoughtful you were in planning this evening. It made me feel so cared for." Specificity matters because it shows that you've truly noticed his effort, not just the outcome. Let me paint a scenario for you. Picture this. He spends time fixing something for you, like hanging a picture or assembling furniture. You could just say thanks and move on. Or you could look him in the eye and say, "Wow, I love how you're always so practical and willing to help me." It means a lot. Which one do you think will leave an impression? The second one, of course. That little moment of acknowledgement taps into something primal, a man's desire to feel useful and valued by the woman he cares about. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Why should I constantly acknowledge his efforts? Shouldn't it go both ways? Absolutely it should. But think of appreciation as planting seeds. When you water those seeds by showing gratitude, you encourage more of the behavior you want to see. And over time, this creates a dynamic of mutual respect and effort in the relationship. Plus, if he's the right man, he'll naturally start mirroring your energy, making you feel just as seen and appreciated. But let's take this a step deeper. Did you know that appreciation also strengthens communication? A man who feels appreciated is far more likely to open up emotionally. Why? Because he knows that his efforts won't go unnoticed or undervalued. It's a psychological safe space. When a man feels that what he does matters to you, he begins to trust you on a deeper level. This is where the Stoic dating philosophy comes into play. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the things we can control, and one of those is how we choose to express gratitude. By intentionally appreciating his efforts, you're fostering a connection built on positivity and mutual respect. Let's talk about the energy behind your words. It's not just what you say, but how you say it. A heartfelt compliment, delivered with sincerity, can light him up in ways you wouldn't believe. But a rushed or half-hearted acknowledgement can have the opposite effect, leaving him feeling unseen or taken for granted. The tone, the timing, and even the context all matter. Think of your appreciation as a gift, wrap it thoughtfully, and it will be cherished. One of the most beautiful ways to show appreciation is by acknowledging the qualities behind his actions. For example, instead of just saying, "Thanks for driving me to work," you could say, "I love how reliable you are. I know I can always count on you." This taps into his character, making your words feel more meaningful. It also shows that you're paying attention to who he is, not just what he does. So, how can you make this a habit? Start small. The next time he does something thoughtful, take a moment to genuinely express your gratitude. Maybe even send him a quick text later like, "I was just thinking about how sweet you were earlier. It really made my day." These little gestures might seem minor, but they build up over time, creating a foundation of trust and connection. And here's a little bonus tip. Don't just save your appreciation for big moments. Men are often caught off guard, in the best way, when you acknowledge the everyday things. Something as simple as, "I noticed how hard you've been working lately, and I really admire your dedication," can make a huge impact. It tells him that you're paying attention to his efforts, even when he's not trying to impress you. Now, let's talk about how this ties into personal growth. Expressing appreciation isn't just about him, it's about you too. Gratitude shifts your mindset. It helps you focus on the positive aspects of your relationship, which in turn creates a cycle of happiness and fulfillment. When you train yourself to notice and vocalize the good things, you not only strengthen your connection with him, but also enhance your own sense of joy and contentment. Here's my challenge for you. Think about the last time you genuinely acknowledged a man's effort. Was it today? Last week? Longer than that? If it's been a while, don't worry, this is your chance to change the game. Start small, stay consistent, and watch how your relationship transforms. Before we move on to the next powerful thing you can say to captivate him, I want to hear from you. If you've been loving these insights so far, hit that like button and comment number 1 below to let me know you're enjoying this video. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the rest of these life-changing tips. 3. Share your feelings without fear. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood yet powerful aspects of connection: expressing your emotions. Society often teaches women to downplay their feelings, to avoid seeming too much or too sensitive. You might have even caught yourself holding back, thinking, what if he doesn't understand? What if I scare him away? But here's the secret most women don't realize. The right man wants to know how you feel. In fact, sharing your emotions is one of the most captivating things you can do. It builds trust, fosters intimacy, and sets you apart. Think of emotions as a bridge. When you open up and share how you feel, you're inviting him to cross that bridge with you. It's not about overwhelming him with every thought or worry, but rather giving him a glimpse into your inner world. This act of vulnerability says, "I trust you enough to let you see the real me." And trust, that's the foundation of every great relationship. Let me give you an example. Imagine you've had a tough day. You're tempted to brush it off, saying something like, "I'm fine," even though you're clearly not. What would happen instead if you said, "I had a rough day, and I'd love to talk about it if you're open to listening"? By doing this, you're not only being honest about your feelings, but also giving him an opportunity to step up and support you. Men often feel deeply fulfilled when they can be there for the women they care about. It taps into their protective instincts. But what if you're worried about being too emotional? Here's where the principle of stoicism comes in. Stoicism doesn't mean suppressing your emotions, it means managing them with grace. When you express your feelings in a grounded, thoughtful way, you show emotional maturity, and that's incredibly attractive. For instance, instead of reacting out of frustration, you might say, "I felt hurt when that happened, and I'd like to talk about it." Notice how this approach is honest but also calm and constructive. Now let's address an important nuance. Sharing your feelings isn't just about expressing the negatives. Men are equally drawn to women who can articulate joy, excitement, and gratitude. For example, if you're feeling particularly happy or connected, don't hold back. Say something like, "I really enjoy spending time with you. It makes me feel so relaxed and appreciated." These moments of positivity create a sense of warmth and reinforcement, making him want to invest even more in the relationship. Here's the fascinating part. When you share your feelings, you also encourage him to do the same. Men are often socialized to suppress their emotions, but when they see you expressing yours, it creates a safe space for them to open up. Suddenly, he's not just hearing your words, he's feeling a connection that goes beyond the surface. And that's rare. something he won't find with just anyone. Let's take this even deeper. Sharing your feelings also allows you to set the tone for emotional intimacy. When you express yourself honestly, you're modeling the kind of vulnerability and openness you want in return. This is how emotional connection evolves. It's a dance where each partner takes turns stepping closer, revealing a little more of themselves. And the result? A relationship built on authenticity rather than pretense. But how do you know when and how much to share? It's all about balance. If you're still in the early stages of dating, you might start with lighter, positive emotions like excitement or gratitude. As the connection grows, you can gradually open up about deeper feelings. This progression not only feels natural, but also helps build trust over time. Remember, emotional intimacy is a journey, not a race. One common misconception is that sharing your feelings makes you needy or dependent. But here's the truth. There's a huge difference between emotional vulnerability and emotional dependence. Vulnerability is saying, here's how I feel, and I want to share this with you. Dependence, on the other hand, is saying, here's how I feel, and I need you to fix it for me. The former invites connection, the latter creates pressure. When you approach emotions from a place of self-awareness, they become a gift rather than a burden. So, what does this look like in practice? Let's say you're feeling uncertain about where things are headed. Instead of letting that uncertainty fester, you could say something like, I really enjoy spending time with you, and I'd love to know how you're feeling about us. This kind of statement is honest but also invites dialogue. It shows that you're open to hearing his perspective while staying true to your own feelings. Or perhaps you've noticed that he's been distant lately. Rather than assuming the worst or letting resentment build, you might say, I've been feeling a little disconnected, and I want to make sure we're on the same page. Is there something on your mind? Again, you're addressing your feelings directly while also showing care and curiosity about his. Ultimately, sharing your feelings isn't just about enhancing your relationship, it's about honoring your own emotional truth. When you give yourself permission to feel and express those feelings, you step into a place of authenticity and power. And the right man will see that as one of the most attractive qualities you possess. Remember, men who are emotionally available crave this kind of connection. They want a partner who can meet them on an emotional level, someone who isn't afraid to be real. So the next time you're tempted to hide your feelings, ask yourself, what would happen if I shared this instead? You might be surprised at how quickly it deepens the bond between you. In the end, it's not about saying the right thing, it's about saying the true thing. And when you do, you give him the gift of knowing the real you. That's something no man will ever forget. Now take a moment to reflect on this. What's one feeling you've been holding back? What's stopping you from sharing it? Sometimes the hardest step is the first one, but it's also the most transformative. Let me know when you're ready to move on to the next secret, because things are about to get even more profound. 4. Use encouraging and supportive language. Have you ever stopped to think about how powerful your words can be? Words have the ability to shape emotions, inspire actions, and most importantly, make a man feel like he can take on the world. When you use encouraging and supportive language, you're not just boosting his confidence, you're creating a bond that's grounded in mutual growth and respect. This is one of the most magnetic things a woman can do in a relationship, and it's something most people overlook. Let's break it down. Men, just like women, carry insecurities and doubts. But here's the difference. They're often taught to hide those feelings. Society tells them to be stoic, strong, and unwavering at all times. Yet, underneath that tough exterior, most men long for someone who believes in them, someone who sees their potential and isn't afraid to say it. When you use supportive language, you're not just building him up, you're showing him that you're someone he can lean on, a rare and priceless gift. Imagine this scenario. He's been working hard on a new project, but he's feeling uncertain about whether it's good enough. You could simply nod and say, I'm sure it'll be fine. Or you could look him in the eye and say, I've seen how much effort you've put into this, and I have no doubt you're going to crush it. You've got this. Which one do you think will stay with him? The second one, of course. those words of encouragement stick, they echo in his mind long after the conversation ends. The magic of supportive language lies in its ability to create a partnership dynamic. Instead of just being a passive observer in his life, you become his teammate, his biggest cheerleader. And the best part, encouragement is contagious. When you lift him up, he'll naturally want to do the same for you. It creates a positive feedback loop where both of you feel valued and motivated. But let's go deeper. Encouragement isn't just about big, dramatic statements. It's also about the little, everyday moments. For example, if he's been hitting the gym regularly, you might say, "I love how disciplined you've been with your workouts. It's inspiring." Or if he's been facing a tough situation, something as simple as, "I'm proud of how you're handling this. It shows how strong you are," can mean the world to him. This kind of language taps into a psychological principle. People thrive when they feel supported. When you affirm his strengths, you're not just helping him succeed, you're reinforcing his sense of self-worth. And that's a bond that goes far beyond surface-level attraction. It's the kind of connection that keeps a relationship strong through challenges and change. Now, you might be wondering, what if he doesn't respond the way I hope? What if my encouragement feels forced? Here's the key. It all comes down to authenticity. Men are incredibly attuned to sincerity. If your words come from a genuine place, they'll resonate even if he doesn't immediately express it. The important thing is to focus on specific, meaningful affirmations rather than generic platitudes. Let me give you a practical tip. When you're encouraging him, try to tie your words to something you've noticed about his character. For instance, instead of saying, "You'll do great," you could say, "You always approach challenges with so much focus. I know you're going to handle this like you always do." By linking your support to his personal qualities, you make your words feel more intimate and impactful. Here's another layer to consider. Encouragement is just as important during his failures as it is during his successes. If something doesn't go his way, resist the urge to immediately offer solutions. Instead, try saying something like, "I know this didn't work out, but I'm so impressed by how hard you tried. You'll figure this out, I believe in you." These words acknowledge his effort, while reminding him that setbacks don't define him. What's fascinating is how using supportive language aligns with Stoicism. Stoicism emphasizes resilience and the importance of focusing on what's within your control. By encouraging him, you're helping him tap into his own resilience, reminding him that he has the strength to navigate life's challenges. This creates a deeper sense of partnership because he knows you're someone who sees his potential even when he can't see it himself. Encouraging language isn't just about building him up, it's also about building the relationship. When you're his source of positivity and support, you become a safe haven in his life. He'll associate you with feelings of empowerment and warmth, making your bond even stronger. Over time, this kind of connection becomes irreplaceable. So, here's your challenge. Think about a moment when you could have offered more encouragement. Maybe he shared an idea, a dream, or even a small goal, and you brushed it off or didn't know what to say. How could you approach it differently next time? Start paying attention to the moments when he's seeking validation and use them as opportunities to show your support. Before we move on to the next transformative thing you can say to captivate him, I want to know, are you enjoying these insights so far? If you are, like this video and comment number 1 below to let me know. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the rest of these powerful tips. 5. Set healthy boundaries through clear communication. Boundaries. The word alone can make some people uneasy. Maybe you've heard things like, "Don't rock the boat," or "If you set boundaries, you'll seem demanding or difficult." But let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how setting boundaries, when done with clarity and kindness, actually draws people closer to you? It's counterintuitive, but true healthy boundaries are not walls to keep others out. They're doors that invite the right people in. Men are deeply attracted to women who know how to set boundaries. Why? Because it shows self-respect, emotional intelligence, and a clear understanding of your own needs. It's a subtle yet powerful way of saying, "I value myself, and I expect you to value me too." This is a game changer in any relationship. Let's start with why boundaries matter. At their core, boundaries are about self-preservation and emotional well-being. They're the invisible lines that define what's acceptable and what's not in your relationships. When you articulate these lines, you're not just protecting your peace, you're also setting the tone for how you want to be treated. Men, especially the emotionally mature ones, find this incredibly attractive. Why? Because it signals confidence and clarity, two traits that naturally command respect. Here's the catch, though. Setting boundaries isn't about ultimatums or harsh lines in the sand. It's about communicating your needs in a way that invites collaboration rather than conflict. For example, let's say he has a habit of canceling plans last minute. Instead of reacting with frustration or giving the silent treatment, you could say, "I feel disappointed when plans change unexpectedly. It's important to me to know I can count on our time together. How can we work on this?" Notice how this approach expresses your feelings while also inviting a solution. Now, let's look at how boundaries create attraction. When you communicate your needs clearly, you're showing him that you're not afraid to speak your truth. This honesty is refreshing in a world where many people avoid confrontation or downplay their feelings to keep the peace. By being upfront, you're setting yourself apart as someone who knows her worth. And trust me, that's magnetic. Boundaries also create a sense of structure in a relationship, which men deeply appreciate, even if they don't realize it. Without boundaries, relationships can feel chaotic or undefined, leaving both partners unsure of where they stand. But when you set clear expectations about how you want to be treated, how you communicate, and what you need to feel secure, you're giving him a roadmap to connect with you on a deeper level. Here's where Stoicism comes into play. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and to let go of what we can't. Setting boundaries is a perfect example of this philosophy in action. You can't control how he responds to your boundaries, but you can control how you communicate them. And when you do so with calmness and clarity, you're embodying the strength and self-respect that Stoicism celebrates. But let's address the elephant in the room. What if he reacts poorly to your boundaries? Maybe he gets defensive or accuses you of being too demanding. Here's the hard truth. A man who can't respect your boundaries isn't the man for you. Boundaries are a way of filtering out those who aren't aligned with your values. They're not about creating distance, they're about protecting your emotional space so you can attract someone who truly appreciates you. Now, let's talk about what happens when boundaries are respected. When a man honors your needs, it deepens the trust and connection between you. He sees you as someone who values herself, and by extension, someone worth valuing. This creates a dynamic of mutual respect, where both partners feel safe to express themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. So, how do you get started? Begin by identifying your non-negotiables. These are the things that are essential to your emotional and mental well-being. Maybe it's consistent communication, respect for your time, or honesty. Once you've identified these, think about how to express them in a way that feels authentic and kind. For instance, instead of saying "you're always late" and "it's unacceptable," you might say, "I feel frustrated when plans don't start on time. It's important to me to feel respected in that way." Another tip is to practice setting boundaries in smaller, low-stakes situations before tackling bigger issues. For example, if a friend interrupts you during a conversation, you could say, "Hold on, I wasn't finished. Let me just wrap up my thought." These small moments build your confidence in expressing your needs, making it easier to handle more significant boundary-setting conversations. One thing to keep in mind, boundaries are not about control, they're about communication. They're not meant to change his behavior, but to clarify what you need to feel secure and respected. When framed this way, boundaries become an opportunity for growth rather than a point of contention. Here's the beauty of setting boundaries. They're not just good for you, they're good for the relationship. By being honest about your needs, you're giving him a chance to rise to the occasion. And when he does, it strengthens the bond between you, creating a partnership that's built on respect and mutual understanding. Think about it. How often do people let resentment build because they're too afraid to speak up? How many relationships could have been saved or strengthened if someone had simply said, "This is what I need from you"? Boundaries are not the enemy of love, they're its foundation. And when you set them with grace and confidence, you're not only protecting yourself, you're also creating space for a deeper, more meaningful connection. So, take a moment to reflect. Are there areas in your life where you've been hesitant to set boundaries? What's holding you back? Remember, boundaries are not about rejection, they're about respect. And the more you respect yourself, the more others will too. When you're ready, we'll move on to the next key to captivating him. Trust me, the insights we're about to explore will deepen your connection even further. Let's keep this journey going. 6. Express admiration for his unique traits. Have you ever noticed how powerful it feels when someone acknowledges something truly unique about you? Not just a generic compliment like, "You look nice today," but something deeper, something that makes you feel truly seen. Now imagine giving that feeling to a man you care about. When you express admiration for his unique traits, you're doing more than making him smile. You're building a connection that goes beyond surface-level attraction. Here's the thing, most men don't hear personalized compliments nearly as often as you might think. Sure, they might get a casual "good job" at work, or a "thanks for helping" from a friend. But when a woman they care about notices their individuality, their strength, intelligence, humor, or creativity, it becomes unforgettable. It's like you're shining a spotlight on the parts of him he's most proud of but may rarely hear praised. Let's take a deeper look at why this is so magnetic. Men, like everyone else, have an innate desire to be valued for who they are, not just for what they do. When you notice something unique about him and say it out loud, it's not just a compliment, it's validation. It's a way of saying, "I see you. I appreciate you. You matter to me." This simple act can create an emotional bond that's hard to break. For example, let's say he has a knack for solving problems. Instead of just saying, "Wow, you're smart," take it further. "I love the way you think through problems." It's so impressive how you can stay calm and come up with solutions so quickly. It's inspiring. Notice the difference? This kind of praise feels personal, intentional, and meaningful. It doesn't just scratch the surface, it goes to the heart of who he is. But don't stop there. Admiring his unique traits can also mean recognizing the little things he does that make him stand out. Maybe it's his patience when explaining something complicated, or his thoughtfulness in remembering the small details about you. Perhaps it's his ability to make you laugh even when you've had the worst day. These qualities are often overlooked, but they're the ones that mean the most. When you call attention to them, you're reinforcing his sense of self-worth and deepening your bond. Why is this so powerful? Because men, like everyone else, have their own insecurities. They might not always show it, but beneath the surface they wonder if they're enough for you, enough for their goals, enough for life's challenges. When you admire his unique traits, you're affirming that he is enough. And let me tell you, that kind of validation is unforgettable. Here's a little secret. Admiration also brings out the best in him. When you recognize and celebrate his qualities, he'll naturally want to lean into them even more. It's human nature, we gravitate toward the traits that are noticed and appreciated. So, by admiring his patience, kindness, or resilience, you're encouraging those qualities to shine even brighter. Now, let's talk about how to express admiration in a way that feels genuine. The key is to be specific and authentic. Instead of relying on vague compliments like "you're great," focus on the details. For instance, if he's been working hard on a project, you could say, "I really admire how dedicated you are to your work. It's inspiring to see how much passion you put into what you do." Or if he's the kind of person who's always there for his friends, you might say, "I love how loyal you are. It's such a rare and amazing quality." These statements not only feel more personal, but also show that you've been paying attention to who he truly is. Here's another layer to consider. Expressing admiration isn't just about what you say, it's about how you say it. Tone matters. Eye contact matters. The energy you bring to your words matters. If you're giving a compliment but your tone is flat or distracted, it won't land the same way as when you're fully present and intentional. Take a moment to pause, look him in the eyes, and let your words carry weight. He'll feel it, and he'll remember it. Let me give you an example of how this plays out in real life. Imagine he's just helped you fix something at home, a leaky faucet maybe. Instead of a quick thanks, you could say, "I love how resourceful you are. You always know how to fix things, and I really admire that about you." It's such a small change, but it transforms an everyday moment into something meaningful. And here's the best part. Admiration works both ways. When you take the time to notice and appreciate his unique traits, he'll feel inspired to do the same for you. Over time, this creates a cycle of mutual respect and affection that strengthens your connection on every level. Think about how this ties into Stoic dating principles. Stoicism emphasizes recognizing the good in others and focusing on what truly matters. By admiring his unique qualities, you're practicing a form of stoicism. You're looking beyond superficial traits and valuing the deeper aspects of his character. This creates a relationship dynamic that's not only grounded in attraction but also in genuine respect and appreciation. Now, let's take a moment to reflect. Have you been paying attention to the unique traits of the men in your life? What's something you've noticed but haven't said out loud? If you're unsure where to start, begin with the things that make you smile, the qualities that make him stand out from the rest. Maybe it's his sense of humor, his determination, or his unwavering kindness. Whatever it is, don't keep it to yourself. Say it, show it, let him know. Before we move on to the next key to captivating him, I'd love to hear what you think so far. If these tips are resonating with you, like this video and comment number 1 below to let me know you're enjoying it. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights like this. You don't want to miss what's coming next. 7. Avoid games. Embrace honesty instead. Let's talk about one of the most damaging habits that can creep into relationships: playing games. You've heard the advice before: don't text back right away or act uninterested so he'll chase you. While these tactics might spark temporary intrigue, they often lead to confusion, frustration, and shallow connections. Here's the truth. The kind of man who's worth your time doesn't want to play games, he wants honesty. There's something irresistibly refreshing about a woman who says what she means and means what she says. In a world full of mixed signals, clarity and authenticity are like a breath of fresh air. When you embrace honesty instead of resorting to games, you send a powerful message. I value myself, and I value real connection. This confidence is magnetic and, more importantly, sets the foundation for a healthy, drama-free relationship. Why do games fail in the long run? Because they're built on a foundation of manipulation rather than trust. When you're trying to win by creating uncertainty, you're not building a connection, you're testing his patience. And let's be honest, do you really want a relationship where you're constantly guessing what the other person is thinking? Of course not. Deep down, we all crave something real. Here's the beauty of honesty: it simplifies everything. When you're upfront about your feelings, needs, and expectations, you eliminate the guessing game. For example, instead of waiting hours to respond to his text to seem cool, imagine how liberating it feels to reply when you want to, without overthinking. Or instead of pretending you're not interested in a second date, you could say, "I had a great time, I'd love to see you again." These small acts of honesty create a sense of ease and transparency that men find incredibly appealing. But let's be clear, honesty doesn't mean oversharing or saying everything that crosses your mind. It's about thoughtful communication, expressing yourself in a way that's true to your feelings, but also respectful of the other person's emotions. For example, if you're unsure about where the relationship is going, instead of playing coy, you might say, "I really enjoy spending time with you, and I'd love to know where your head is at. How are you feeling about us?" This approach is direct yet gentle, and it opens the door for meaningful conversation. One of the reasons honesty is so attractive is that it fosters trust. When you're honest, you create a space where he feels safe to be honest too. This mutual openness allows the relationship to grow in a way that feels natural and authentic. Think about it. How often do misunderstandings happen because one or both people were afraid to speak their truth? By breaking that cycle, you set the tone for a connection that's grounded in respect and understanding. Honesty also taps into a man's desire for simplicity. While games create unnecessary complexity, honesty provides clarity. When you're straightforward about your feelings and intentions, he doesn't have to waste energy trying to decode your behavior. Instead, he can focus on building the relationship, and that's where the real magic happens. Let's connect this idea to Stoicism. Stoicism emphasizes living with integrity and focusing on what you can control. When you're honest, you're embodying this philosophy. You're choosing to act with authenticity rather than reacting to external pressures or societal expectations. This kind of inner strength is not only empowering for you, but also deeply attractive to others. Of course, being honest can feel vulnerable, especially if you've been hurt before. You might worry, what if I'm honest and he doesn't feel the same way? What if I get rejected? These fears are valid, but they're also a part of what makes honesty so powerful. When you take the risk to be real, you show that you're not afraid to be seen for who you truly are. And the right man will appreciate that courage more than you can imagine. Here's a practical example. Let's say you've been seeing someone for a while, and you're ready to define the relationship. Instead of waiting for him to bring it up, or worse, dropping hints and hoping he catches on, you could say, "I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and I'd love to talk about where we see this going. What are your thoughts?" This kind of honesty isn't pushy, it's proactive. It shows that you value your time and emotions enough to seek clarity. Honesty also means owning your mistakes. If you've said or done something you regret, admitting it can be incredibly disarming. For instance, if you snapped at him during a stressful moment, you might say, "I realize I was short with you earlier, and I'm sorry. That wasn't fair to you." This level of accountability not only strengthens trust, but also shows emotional maturity, something every healthy relationship needs. On the flip side, honesty also means recognizing when things aren't working. If you're not feeling a connection or your needs aren't being met, it's better to address it directly than to ghost or string someone along. While these conversations can be uncomfortable, they're also an act of kindness. By being truthful, you give both yourself and the other person the freedom to move forward with clarity. At its core, honesty is about respecting yourself and the other person. It's about showing up as your authentic self and inviting him to do the same. And when you build a relationship on this foundation, you create something far more meaningful than any game could ever achieve. Take a moment to reflect. Where in your dating life could you replace games with honesty? Maybe it's in how you communicate your feelings, or perhaps it's about being more transparent with your intentions. Whatever it is, remember this. The right man will value your honesty because it shows that you value yourself. When you're ready, let's dive into the next secret to capturing his heart. It's all about creating emotional intimacy, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Let's keep going. 8. Encourage open conversations about his feelings. Let's talk about something that men rarely get the space to do: express their feelings. Society often teaches men to keep their emotions bottled up, to appear stoic and strong no matter what. But here's the thing, men, just like anyone else, crave the freedom to be vulnerable with someone they trust. And when you create a space where he feels safe to open up, you're building a connection that's not only deep but also incredibly rare. Have you ever noticed how much closer you feel to someone after a truly honest conversation? That's the power of emotional intimacy. When a man shares his feelings with you, it's not just words, it's a sign that he trusts you with his inner world. And trust, that's the cornerstone of every great relationship. But here's the challenge. Most men are not naturally inclined to talk about their emotions, especially if they've been conditioned to see vulnerability as weakness. This is where your role becomes so important. By encouraging open conversations, you're giving him permission to feel, to share, and to connect on a deeper level. And let me tell you, that's one of the most attractive qualities a woman can bring to a relationship. How do you create this kind of space? It starts with curiosity and patience. Instead of waiting for him to open up on his own, ask thoughtful questions that show you're genuinely interested in his thoughts and feelings. For example, instead of just asking, "How was your day?" try something more specific, like, "What's been on your mind lately?" Or "What's something you're excited about right now?" These kinds of questions go beyond surface-level conversation and invite him to share more about himself. When he does open up, the key is to listen without judgment. This might sound simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Too often, people jump in with advice or solutions when what the other person really needs is to feel heard. If he shares something personal, resist the urge to fix it. Instead, respond with empathy. You might say, "That sounds really challenging. I'm glad you shared it with me." Or, "I didn't realize you were feeling that way. Thank you for trusting me with this." These responses show that you value his vulnerability, which makes him more likely to open up again in the future. Another important element is timing. If he seems withdrawn or preoccupied, don't force the conversation. Instead, let him know you're there when he's ready. You might say something like, "I've noticed you've seemed a little quieter than usual. I'm here if you want to talk about anything." This approach is gentle yet supportive, giving him the space to process his emotions without feeling pressured. Here's the beautiful thing about encouraging open conversations. It strengthens the emotional bond between you. When a man feels safe to share his feelings, he associates that sense of safety with you. Over time, this creates a connection that goes beyond attraction. It's a partnership where both of you feel truly seen and understood. This ties deeply into Stoicism. While Stoicism often emphasizes emotional regulation, it doesn't mean suppressing feelings. Instead, it's about acknowledging emotions in a healthy, constructive way. By encouraging him to share his feelings, you're helping him practice this balance. You're showing him that vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness, it's a pathway to growth and connection. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine he's stressed about work but hasn't said much about it. Instead of brushing it off, you could say, "I know work has been intense lately. How are you holding up?" This simple question shows that you're paying attention and that you care. If he hesitates to open up, give him time. Sometimes just knowing you're there is enough to encourage him to share when he's ready. But what if he struggles to articulate his emotions? This is where patience becomes crucial. Not everyone is used to talking about their feelings, especially if they've been discouraged from doing so in the past. If he's finding it difficult, you can gently guide the conversation. For instance, you might say, "I've noticed you've seemed a little stressed. What's been the most challenging part for you?" This gives him a starting point without overwhelming him. Encouraging open conversations also means being willing to share your own feelings. Vulnerability is a two-way street. When you open up about your emotions, you're modeling the kind of honesty and trust you want to see in the relationship. For example, you might say, "I've been feeling a little anxious about something, and it really helps to talk about it. Do you ever feel that way?" By sharing your experiences, you're creating a sense of mutual understanding and inviting him to do the same. What's amazing is how these conversations build over time. The more you encourage him to share, the more natural it becomes. And as the emotional connection deepens, so does the overall strength of your relationship. He starts to see you not just as a partner, but as someone who truly understands and supports him. So here's a challenge for you. Think about the last meaningful conversation you had with a man. Did you ask open-ended questions? Did you listen without judgment? If not, what could you do differently next time? Remember, the goal isn't to force him to talk. It's to create an environment where he feels safe enough to do so. If you've made it this far, it's clear that you're serious about building deeper connections. And there's more to come. Like this video and comment number 1 below if you found these insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe for the final piece of this journey. It's going to bring everything we've discussed together in a way that will completely transform how you connect with men. Let's keep building something amazing. Throughout this journey, we've explored 8 transformative ways to connect with a man on a deeper, more meaningful level. These aren't just strategies, they're reflections of your authentic self, ways to build trust, create emotional intimacy, and set the foundation for a truly fulfilling relationship. Now, take a moment to reflect. Which of these resonated with you the most? Maybe it was the idea of using specific compliments to show admiration. Or perhaps the concept of setting clear boundaries spoke to you as a way to protect your emotional energy. Wherever you are in your journey, remember this. Relationships are about growth, both for you and the person you're with. These principles aren't just about captivating him, they're about creating a connection that enriches both of your lives. The beauty of these approaches is that they're rooted in authenticity. You don't need to pretend to be someone you're not or follow rigid rules that don't align with who you are. The right man will value you for exactly who you are, especially when you show up with honesty, confidence, and a willingness to connect on a deeper level. But here's the final insight I want to leave you with. These principles don't just apply to romantic relationships. They can transform how you connect with anyone, friends, family, colleagues, because they're about mutual respect, vulnerability, and genuine care. When you live by these values, you attract not just love, but also meaningful connections in every area of your life. So, what's next? It's time to take action. Whether it's expressing admiration for someone's unique qualities, setting a boundary that honors your needs, or encouraging an open conversation about emotions, start small. Choose one principle from this guide and put it into practice today. You'll be amazed at how quickly these little shifts create big changes in your relationships. If you found value in this guide, take a moment to like this video and comment below to let me know which principle you're most excited to try. And if you haven't already, subscribe to join this amazing community of women who are all about growth, connection, and authenticity. Together, we're redefining what it means to create meaningful relationships, and I can't wait to see what's next for you. Thank you for spending this time with me, and remember, the love you're seeking starts with the love you show yourself. Here's to creating connections that are as authentic and fulfilling as you are. See you in the next video.